All right, so it is Wednesday, January 9th, a little after 2 o'clock, and this is the meeting where we're getting together to make sure our notes are clear and we know what we're asking, and then start talking if there's anything that we need to either ask from them or we can start preparing for the schedule. We can talk over that a little bit. Greta is not able to be here. She had her baby on the second, and she's still in the hospital, and so we're recording this for her. And Mateo, yeah, isn't here, but we're recording this too so that he can hear it. And please, both you, Greta and Mateo, write me, and we can so we're all on the same page. Oh, and I just see that Mateo wrote. Nope, he cannot make it right now. So
Okay.
that's all right. We're recording it and it's fine. So the layout of the time. First, I want to say a couple things about this type of review and go a little bit more into what an ex ante review means. That is something new for ECTE. I don't know if the other people on the vet team are with this, so I wanted to talk a little bit about that. And then um, talk over a little bit about the areas that you have questions or we need to clarify in the SER. Most of us have written something in the review report, so I don't think there's a lot, but we can, James and I can share that. And then the schedule, talking a little bit about what that could look like. Yeah. And then if you have any other questions, please just pop in. Um, James, raise your hand, please. Okay, so this is an CP review, and as we said already, it's an institutional one, but very slimmed down. And since ETS-Kniebis has institutional accreditation, we can actually be even more targeted because we don't have to go and from the ground up and ask questions that have already been answered. So this is very targeted. Another thing that makes this review interesting is it's ex ante. It means they will be accredited or they can be accredited before they actually um, teach and complete and have reviewed their micro credential. And so, what this means is we're asking them to prepare everything, all the forms, their plans, they know who's teaching, descriptions of the micro credential as if they would start tomorrow. So, that's what we're asking them to do. Um, since they haven't done it, we can also say that I think this is a pilot for them because in the SER, there was a couple of things of like, oh, we don't have a partnership yet exactly, but in the future, we want to do this. We're starting with this course. We don't have any students, but we're going to add. And so going to be talking with them and seeing if that's their idea. And I'm pretty sure it is because that will help them and it will help us to say when this pilot view is over, we need a little bit more report and data from you coming back even before the next review. So, questions about that, James?
No, makes sense.
Okay, okay, great. Um, so yeah, let's talk about the worksheet, the review worksheet, and anything that has come up. I'm going to share my screen, and I see, yeah, we can just kind of walk through it. I don't think there's that much to do, but if something does trigger your mind, that now's the time to do it. Let's see here. All right, is that showing up for you?
It is indeed, yeah.
Okay, maybe if I do a little bit more. Um, on the first one with the I policies, yeah, for me it's
Yeah.
just what level because I've seen a couple of different things, and we would need to make sure if they do seven, who's teaching those level sevens? Because a few of their teachers don't have that qualification yet.
Yeah. No, I think, yeah, as I said in my comment, I think it's pretty robust, obviously building what they had already.
Yeah.
I didn't see any issues.
No. Yeah, I agree. And then Mateo and Greta, if you see anything else, get back to me within the week. That would be good. But I think since the summer, I think they did a really, really good job of cleaning it up and making it a lot easier.
Yeah, the handbook is good, right? Like obviously it's linked, and I don't know if that was from your guys' recommendation or whatever, but definitely it would be if they're willing to let that become an anonymized example of like
Yeah,
a standalone MCP thing for people to make use of. I think it was helpful to have alongside the SER in a way that rather than having like 17 different documents linked to and things like that, which is often what happens with these.
right. Yeah, and they're going to have it public and posted, and so people
Oh,
can
great.
see, and so we
Yeah.
can say, go look at what they're doing. But yeah, I totally agree. Okay, so for the design and approval,
Yeah, like I think your question's valid. As I said, I read it that this would be their process, even if they're taking an existing thing. But I think clarification at least would be
yeah, and
is
that can happen
handy.
there. It's not a big thing. It's
No.
just
Yeah,
yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah, I
but
think again, it was well thought through the process. It was standard. It's what you would imagine if you were designing a approval process.
right. And that's the nice thing about this. It can be targeted, so we don't have to spend time saying, okay, how did you do this? What did you do? It's there. You've had it already, and you've just adapted it for micro credentials.
Yeah.
Yeah. Student centered learning, teaching, and assessment. Yeah, and this is where we need the forms, obviously,
Yes.
and then I think the Moodle thing. I think I like the demo thing that you mentioned about the Odoo or however you pronounce that.
Yeah.
If they
Yeah.
just show us their, unless you or other people would like access to it,
No, like the reality is I won't understand anything it says anyway, probably if it's not in English.
right?
So I think if they talk us through it, that usually works just as well as having access because usually the way Moodle Access works, they have to give us like everything or not, and so even finding the micro credentials might be hard because we'll have a level of access that's like a teacher and stuff. So I think a demo
Yep.
probably makes sense.
And then I think that's what the part of the review will be taking time for them to show us on that. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, the form agreed as well.
Yeah. Student admission, progression, recognition, and certification. Yeah. Yeah. The forms, anything that they say there's a form, I know they have a process. If they can explain it to us, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think as we've said, I think this was less that there's some clarity required here as opposed the other three I think were pretty clear other than we need the form. They
Right.
don't they definitely seem to it's a long document they filled out and I obviously you give them the benefit of the doubt but they've said not stacking or that maybe stacking or then definitely stacking in like three different places. So probably yeah,
Right. And
clarification on that question.
and then also in their system, do they have something specific for micro
Yeah.
credentials? That's why it's like yes or
Yeah.
no. And then that'll be pretty easy to say. And so the demo, I think, will definitely give us more information. The staff,
Yeah, like I think again, your questions. I agreed. I made like a more of a existential question comment that I think a lot of colleges will struggle to answer.
yeah,
The whichever the MCP, the two questions you've got there,
right.
and then yeah, I think the faculty one is right. I couldn't see anyone that was teaching something they couldn't do yet, but I agree if they're going to do other ones, just making sure is definitely at least worth it. But I may have misread the table as well.
No, I don't think you did, and I think that's yeah, yeah, that'll help
Yeah.
us know what we're looking at and what they're doing. Learning resources and student support. Okay.
Again, I think the comments are self-explanatory. Like obviously the new staff member, as you said, is good. And I think all your questions are worth um, asking around the library. Like my instinct is that they're probably overthinking. If they're going to go and get loads more resources for it, that's probably they're like almost overdoing it, unless they were thinking of doing that anyway for other things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's really, I don't know if tricky, but interesting because a lot of micro credentials are only done online, but they're doing some on location so that the library resources are there. Otherwise, you just need to provide, you need to show what you're doing for that course.
Yeah,
And yeah, I don't think they need to, we don't need to know how many books they have in their library and anything
yeah,
like
yeah,
that in the regular ones. Yeah. Information management.
yeah. Again, that just like the same, seeing their system. I guess it might be interesting to talk to this admin person if they happen to be hired in time, but I don't think that's a it's not like a requirement because I'm sure they'll hire someone that's capable and they'll learn as they go.
Right. And this is where it's the ex ante. It's like they're planning it. Okay. It's like, great.
Exactly.
So in the review, we'll say report back when you have, and then yeah. And public information, yeah, exactly like you said. If they have the things from the web, the handbook on the website, that's good. And then for the registration, it'd be good for clarity too, because I haven't seen or heard anything specifically about the registration for micro credentials.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
And it could just be their extra one, their usual one, but it would be good to for for the public to know the difference.
yeah.
And monitoring.
Yeah, again, like you said, obviously this is the start of the monitoring, right? They've obviously got internal structures, but externally we are the people for now.
Yes, right. Yeah.
And the same with the quality assurance.
Yeah, and
Um,
that's they can say that after this this
yeah, yeah,
round.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So for me, it's this really shows I'm very, very thankful for ECTE to say we're going to start doing this with institutions that already have accreditation. And because of this very reason, it is simpler because they can just adjust it to it. Now, there's still, I'm sure we'll find some things that can be smoothed out, but that's great because not only are they learning, we're learning too. So with this first one, we'll hit some hiccups too, but I think they have they have the understanding. They know what they want, and for them, if we haven't been clear enough for them, then we need to find out what those things are for the standards that are not covered in that way.
No, I thought it very pretty comprehensive. You know, the form the filling, you know, their responses to the prompts for the questions, and along with the handbook. Like, yeah, there were definitely no red flags, and just so mainly just a few clarifications, and then seeing a few of the things, and probably just as you always get with these reviews, you know, hearing from the faculty how they're feeling about it as a new endeavor, which is not really something we're reviewing, but it's just, it would just be good to hear from them rather than in written words, you know?
Right. And yeah, right now it's hard because there are two courses that they've said. And so
Yeah.
I think it would be good since they haven't taught them yet. I need to go over with Marvin and Carmen, I think, but I think it would be good if we could have them in there to hear what they're thinking, even though they can't say we can't
Yeah, yeah.
do that.
Well,
I think
especially for, sorry, go ahead.
no, no, go ahead.
Yeah, especially your point about, I think my guess is what's going to become a common theme through all these reviews for people that like for institutions like these guys is how are you adapting the content you've already prepared to be to be more appropriate as needed, and some of it will be really limited changes required, right? But some of them might be reasonably substantial. And so it would just be interesting. It would almost just be interesting to hear what they're adapting and not adapting for from the module they have that already exists or the short course they have that already exists to make it this more formal standalone thing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think that's what it's all going to be about, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, so are there other things that I need to ask them and clarify? I don't, other than what we've mentioned.
I didn't see anything. I thought it was pretty comprehensive. Like it ticked almost all the boxes. There's obviously a few forms that would be helpful to see, a few demos of things, a few clarifications of the around, stacking and prior learning and stuff like that,
Right.
which hopefully will be simple enough. Like I can't see why this would be a complex review in the 3 days. I can't see anything that would, unless it turns out they're lying about everything, which is highly unlikely because they've already been
Highly
reviewed.
unlikely, yes.
Um, so I think yeah, no, I think the form. Well, I'm just seeing the bit at the bottom of the doc. You've got, yeah. So I think all the questions you have in the review and the ones that I've put in the request for the forms and the couple of demos, they're the main things to look at from me.
Yep. Okay, now I'm going to share the our vet MCP vet information. Um, it had all the notes and stuff like that. And so at the bottom, I I know there are looking at the 10th, 11th, and 12th of February, which are the dates oop, of our review. Thinking about the schedule, I know there are some times in there that are not good for Mateo,
Sure.
right? And so if you can just put in if there's a certain time, Mateo, I think it was sometime on Tuesday morning or something like that, or early afternoon. So if you can put your initials and the time that you are that not good to meet, um, that would be good. And just because we have 3 days doesn't mean we're going to use the entire time. And I because it is a targeted and they have done some things, we don't even need to hit everything unless it's an issue. So I think a lot of our things will be the demo for the Moodle and their admin um, demonstration, talking with the teachers who are involved and Dominic and those who are providing this. Maybe if there's some secretary or other admin that are doing it. Because right now we don't need to do a whole bunch of stakeholders because they're not
Yeah.
there yet.
Yeah, I guess the only other thing is whether it's worth talking to any board members because obviously they're putting 10,000 euro into this and just seeing what they like. Again, it's not necessarily it's not one of the standards, but it might be interesting if we can get a couple of them in if we have the time, which I think we will do.
I think we would have the time if
Yeah,
they have the act. Yeah,
yeah. Um, Yeah, just to see what the vision of it, like alongside everything else they're doing, which they talk about obviously in it's mentioned in the SER at various points, but you know, yeah, it can be a lighter touch meeting
well,
with them
yeah,
than it would be with a
yeah,
full review where you really want to make sure, like just really what why they're so supportive of it, I suppose, and what they hope for it, and how they're gonna support it,
yeah,
um, alongside the academic stuff. Yeah, so for me, I'll put in my times right now. Like I'm free all 3 days, basically the whole way through,
okay,
because I've blocked off the 3 days. So,
right,
um, but I guess in a perfect world, I wouldn't start at like before you're an hour ahead, so before 9 a.m. Germany time, or is it CST?
yeah, whether if the S is there or not, I just do Central Europe time because then
Okay,
people
cool. Yeah.
understand. They know what time, what it means for them. Okay, yeah.
And then just doing the maths. Yeah, I can do 9 to 6,
Okay,
all 3 days if needed.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so happy to work around people that have more uh, restricted
Good.
availability.
Okay. And so since you're doing that, let's just see what times you can meet.
Oh, sorry, I've just yeah,
That's all
I
right.
could just
No,
left it
this is
blank.
actually good. If everyone has puts it in, then we know everybody
Yeah, yeah,
has done that. Yeah.
that's true. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Sounds good to me. And so next week
Yes.
I'll start thinking about exactly timetables and because I'd like to keep all of our online, even including ours, no more than 4 hours a day.
Sure. Yeah.
And yeah,
Just out of curiosity, what um is the plan for the final meeting with them on the Wednesday, for example? Is it going to look similar in that it will be effectively a list of commendations, recommendations, and requirements, or do you guys see this happening working differently?
initially they had planned it differently, but
Okay.
that was a few months ago and a lot of things have happened. So, um, and I've never done an online one before. Have you, James?
Yeah, well, I did a follow-up review for we did a review that was ahead of time. It was a whatever proof of concept review in Romania, and then we did a follow-up online one. So that
Okay,
was different but shorter as well. We did the
right.
same um, in terms of those three categories anyway. Um, and then the full report obviously came a month later or whatever.
Yeah. What's your initial thinking thought of that, of the last one having um
Yeah, like I think that that categorization in terms of initial response to them in that meeting, I can't think of any reason, assuming the terminology is going to be the same in the report in terms of what, and that goes to the accreditation, board and
yes,
committee and stuff. So assuming that's
yes,
all the same, I would see no reason to change that up dramatically. I think we'll have commendations for them. There'll be a few recommendations. They at the moment they might not have any requirements,
right. Yeah.
which is okay. That's a good thing in many ways. So yeah, I don't see why the only thing that could be helpful, and you can't and Marvin maybe need to talk about it, is how there's always a tension between advice, suggestions, and then the other bits, and so. It depends how, and it doesn't have to be I don't think it has to be a for all MCP reviews, that this is what it does. But if there's a way we want to give best practice suggestions on a paper, or if we want to keep that off paper like we would do for a full review, I suppose is kind of how it tends to be. That might be the only thing because it's a new concept for many people.
Right. Yeah. And typically, from just talking with Carmen, online tends to be pretty much standard compliance. Are they
Sure.
complying with the
Yeah.
standards? And the on-site does have a lot more of that developmental aspect of it because you can sit down and talk to somebody and talk with them and share those professional development aspects.
100%.
But it would be good to get clarity on that. That'd
Yeah,
be
like
okay.
I think it would definitely be like lower key than, as you said, than you have over dinner and lunch and stuff. But I think for like a new thing, you can learn quite a lot from the review report, and like so even some of the things we've identified in that are like questions that wouldn't be they definitely won't be a requirement. They might not even be a recommendation, but we want, and obviously we can voice it in the call, but it's whether we want to put it on paper for them
Right. Right.
unofficially before
Yeah.
the official report where it might not be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I
Yeah. I'm
think,
gonna.
yeah, like I think that would be, it would be a loss for that to not be allowed to happen if because it won't be happening as organically in the Zoom calls that we're having with the people
Hmm.
because we've got limited time, limited, like Zoom just doesn't work well for that sort of discursive conversation as well, especially if English isn't everyone's first language and all that sort of stuff. And so hypothetically, if we identify things during our reading and our conversations that we think are we would maybe have chatted to someone at one to one or at lunch or whatever and said, we know this place is doing this thing. Because I guess, not myself, obviously, but like, especially Marvin and ECT are like, obviously leading the
Yeah.
way in this for these
Right.
people.
Yeah.
And obviously you've had loads of conversations with them already, which has led to this point, but we might notice some other things that say, oh, we've heard about this other group, they're doing this thing, or did you ever think about doing this thing this way as well? Your way is perfectly fine, but this way might make your life easier. Um, yeah, so I think it would be a loss if that was gone completely from because it's
Yeah.
too informal. Um, and so I think, if it could be written down for them, that might be helpful if it can't come up organically in a call.
Hmm.
But I think otherwise, I think I can't see why the three headings alongside then the final report, which will obviously say compliance with the standards, I assume again full whatever and non-compliant, whatever it is.
Substantial or partial
Yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Partial, that's the word, yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, I'll bring that up and clarify that for us because that will be helpful to know how much to say and whatnot
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Yeah.
Especially for future ones. As we become more comfortable with it,
Right.
like next year, for example, if it's a college that is newish to this bit, but some of us have done two or three reviews and seen how other places are doing it, like that
Hmm.
handbook, for example. And so obviously some of that can happen before they submit, but sometimes it might not. And it would be a shame not to share the learning across the network
Right.
through the reviews as well as through other
Absolutely.
ways.
Yeah. 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 One thing that I have done is I had three webinars,
Mhm.
lunchtime, like mini cafe, quality cafes just for micro credentials. And I wonder
Mhm.
if we could have like if people sharing because we want people to share what they're doing with each other too. Yeah, but this is these first three, four are we have to play around, and so we may say we
100%.
don't know. Let's try it and see if it gets out of control, or
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
or it's like, oh, this part was good, and then we can incorporate that. So I definitely
No,
like to play around with that. Yeah, good idea.
no, no, but yeah, all sounds good. I think like I think it will be a very positive and um, smooth, like online visit.
Yeah, yeah, I'm hoping. Yeah, and you're here, and Mateo and Greta. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. Um,
Yeah.
okay, so that's all that I have on my agenda. Anything?
No, nothing from me. I think we've covered everything that makes sense. And as yeah, if they're able to send on any of the forms beforehand, that would be great. Um, and then yeah, just figuring out the schedule, which obviously you're going to work on. So that's no, all
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Okay.
Great.
Well, I'm gonna shut this off, and I'll make sure that Mateo and Greta get that